Hi guys, good morning. I got up at 4 o'clock, so it's still pretty dark here because I'm sitting in the bottom of a basement car park right now. I'm about to go and do a really cool workshop with a radical company actually that's the top of its game, and they've got a variety of ages and titles and everything, but the most important thing is how do they stay number one or in the top of their industry despite all the market conditions. So how do they cope with all this mental pressure as well when we're running surveys and things where it doesn't matter what you're doing at the moment, 9 times out of 10 either yourself or someone around you will be dealing with a lot of mental pressure right now, and not everyone is coping. So how do you process pressure like a pro? Not just the pressure from external circumstances, but the pressure from your own mindset, the expectations you put on yourself, the busy mind, the never-ending thought process, the self-judgment, the doubt, the feeling of responsibility, whether it's finances, your work, your family, being accepted, whether you've been going for awards lately and you can't figure out what you have to do next, whether you're trying to pivot your business, attract staff. I mean, there's always a million things to worry about, and the older we get, that means the more responsibility we have, whether we like it or not. So with great courage and great results comes more responsibility and more risk. But the most important thing is most people that deal with a lot of mental pressure, for example, athletes or high performing individuals, usually have coaches. So the problem is now is a lot of people dealing with mental pressure, they're not in a Roger Federer position. They're not top of their game in a sports position. They're not top of their game in an individual sport or a team sport. They don't have coaches. They have to navigate this world on their own, get up the next day, groundhog it again. And all across the media at the moment, we have interest rates, inflation, housing crisis. People can't move and find places to rent. They've got to leave their pets behind. Everything's more expensive. Jobs are hard to find. People want to work from home. There's so much uncertainty. On top of that, we still haven't got rid of a lot of the flu and COVID and everything else going around. So there's just a whole lot of chaos. And if you're watching the news and you're watching what's happening with the interest rates and inflation and everything else, you're going to start thinking that it's doom and gloom. So most importantly, the number one thing on how to handle pressure like a pro is remember that life is a rally. So you have to be ready to embrace any conditions, any season, at any time. And when you can flip the perspective that you shouldn't be going through peaks and troughs and ups and downs and binge positive thinking and then binge negative thinking, and when you can truly master getting to know yourself, that is the highest education of all, because then no matter what the conditions, no matter what the stormy climate, no matter whether it's sunny or raining or whatever, you can master your mindset. And that is one of the greatest strategies of all. So in Radical Self-Belief, the book, or whether you've got Fitpreneur or even one of my first books, Vitality, all the frameworks inside of that show you how to navigate, how to have a seamlessly consistent, find your own confident way of thinking, which means even if everybody else outside of you is trying to derail you, destabilize you, if there's things that are so much out of your control than ever before, having a sense of self-trust, having a sense of self-mastery, understanding what it is that you can do to navigate through things that you can actually change, and also figuring out that there's going to be those variables that you can't, gives you a whole new perspective to manage your way through whatever conditions you're facing today's climate. Now, it doesn't matter if you're a student listening to this, if you're a CEO, if you're a startup, if you're a mom, a dad, whatever, you're still a human being that's going to put pressure on yourself to feel like you need to be doing something. And the biggest thing at all with conditions at the moment is that we have a lot of comparison. We have a lot of things happening on social media. We have a lot of what I call Facebook posts and everything else where people are trying to tell you how to be positive, and you can have all those downloads that you want, but you have to be able to find that consistency in yourself. So having another app, listening to 7 hours of meditation music, trying to kind of absorb more information probably isn't going to work, because if you really thought about it and you applied the basics, your tiny daily habits would get you remarkable results. The issue is we jump around from information and we get what I call panic consumption. So we consume all this new stuff and all these tips and all these habits and all these quotes and all these kind of training devices to help us stay calm, help us be more efficient, help us be more productive, but we're not actually doing it as an inside job. So you have to learn to back yourself. You have to learn to think that whether or not you realize it, you've probably been through far worse conditions before. And if this is the first time you've really been challenged, remember, you're going to be okay, because there's a difference between fight or flight when actually you're in extreme danger, which is if a lion is chasing you, if there's a gun to your head, if your safety, your paramount life or death safety is at risk. There's a completely different scenario than if you're worried about, have you done all your invoicing? Have you done all your admin? There's too much traffic. What we're having at the moment is an epidemic of stressed out reactions to things that are absolutely not relative to the situation going on. And if you're feeling that panic rising, if you're feeling that overwhelm happening, and if you're feeling that you can't quite stay grounded consistently, then you need to slow down and recognize that you're letting yourself spiral out of control. And the only strategy that will help you get to the end of that seamlessly and consistently for sustainable success is to master how you think about things, to master your perspective. And ultimately, whether you're a Red Bull athlete or you're just someone trying to pack school lunches, it's all about what happens between your ears. It's all about the conversations you have with yourself. It's all about how you pep yourself up and give yourself a really common ground perspective to know that with self-confidence and self-efficiency, you can actually manage your way through any day. So if you're at the moment tweaked and triggered by rising costs of living, not knowing what's going to happen with all this pandemic and health and what's happening with our hospital system, someone in aged care that you can't get to, worried about your parents, worried about your kids, worried about your finances, worried about job security, worried about where you're going to live, all those things are very, very topical points that people are genuinely stressed about at the moment. So the most important thing to do is to sit down and realize that there's always a solution. And here are 3 ways to handle pressure like a pro. Number 1, pause and stop. The moment your mind gets super busy and goes on overdrive, you must stop that by actually sitting still, getting out a pen and paper and recognizing you've started to go into that subconscious thinking. So press pause. Number 2 is you've got to do the A and B column. The A and B column is the awareness, what's going on, and the B column is the blurts. It's the yeah buts. It's the I could slow down, but I'm not going to finish that job. I could do a list in the morning, but I'm too busy to do it. So when you start to realize the blurts that you're telling yourself, the subconscious saboteurs that stop you from staying calm, you realize that you're actually coaching yourself out of confidence, out of self-belief, out of managing pressure, and staying in a cycle of stress, overwhelm, and getting freaked out. And that's not what we want. So when you write your A and B column, which is the reality versus the blurts, you start to see the conversations you have with yourself. The third thing you do is you actually take stock of what is really an issue, excuse me, what is a variable, so stuff that's out of your control, and what you do have to do. So take it down to bite-sized chunks. What do you have to do today? If it means that you've written all the stuff in your head out on a piece of paper, you can then start to prioritize it. What is the next right thing to do? If you don't have the information to make an informed decision, don't force yourself to pontificate about something without the facts and stats. So, number 1, press pause, slow down, recognize you're going into overthinking. Stop it immediately. If you have to take yourself out of an environment, turn your phone off, stop watching the news, stop talking to someone who's a big doomsday person, do it immediately. Number 2, get in charge of recognizing the facts and stats versus the blurts and the perceived fear-based thinking that you're giving yourself as a confirmation. So what truly is reality versus what is your perceived doomsday conversation that's going on in your subconscious? That's the A and B column. The third thing is to go and write down your variables, the stuff you can't control, and the things that you can control, and the next right thing to do. So really it comes back to sitting down, a pen and paper, training yourself to know the difference between perceived stress and chaos and where you sit right now. And fundamentally, if you've got a roof over your head, if you've got electricity, if you've got running water, if you're safe, and you've got a job to go to and a place to be and people to talk to, you're going to be okay. So it's putting into perspective what's really worth stressing about, and remembering that watching the media and trying to think about a million things at once and getting caught up in all this chaos without really thinking about if it's actually relevant or not and what the facts are is going to lead you down a tunnel of more stress and overwhelm you don't need to be down. So mastering your mindset is the greatest strategy at all. It takes huge self-discipline. It means you have to be acutely aware of the conversations you have with yourself, but treat yourself like an athlete. Do the work between your ears, because when you do that, you can shift your game. And when you shift your mindset, put it into a positive perspective, you can shift the world around you as well and how you respond to that. So I hope this helped. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning here. I'm going to go grab a coffee, but I really just wanted to let you know there are simple tactics to take the pressure off like a pro, and that means regrouping as often as you need. Back yourself, and remember, you've gone through many things before. This is about agility, not just resilience, and stop resisting the ability to realize that you are absolutely in the driver's seat of life. It doesn't matter what you read in the news. It doesn't matter what you read or listen to at the cafe. You've got to learn to back yourself. That's the most important thing. So trust yourselves, guys. That ultimately is the greatest education of all, learning to understand your subconscious and know that your superconscious is the one in charge. If you want to hear more about this, go check out my YouTube channel as well, Vitality Coach TV. Come and subscribe on here on Instagram, and come and join me on Facebook or LinkedIn, wherever you want to. Free Monday Mojos on nikkifogdenmoore.com. I hope this really helped set a little bit of fresh perspective that you can absolutely slow everything down, because as I've said all along, and it's in all my books, you have to be the CEO of your life as well as your business. So that little mission of mine has been going on for about 10 years, is to show you how to do that. And that means mastering your mindset is your number one strategy to get a handle on and make sure that there's confidence and calm, and don't buy into chaos, because make sure that you have your facts and stats. Okay, have a great day. Happy Tuesday, or whenever you're listening to this. And if you want any information, or you've got questions, please reach out, because it's the simple strategies that make the most effective results. And if you are not doing those daily habits, then you're probably sabotaging yourself out of the ultimate, absolute sustainable success roadmap. It's really easy, but you just have to show up for yourself. Until next time, take it easy, guys, and stay healthy, wealthy, and wise. And don't forget, if you use the code RSB10, you get 10% off Radical Self-Belief, the book, or Fitpreneur, How to Be the CEO of Your Business and Your Life, and also Vitality. So come join me next time. Have a radical day wherever you are. And remember, back yourself. You got this.